I'm Dave Cameron. I'm the creator and producer of the Eating Ithaca podcast and website at EatingIthaca.com.
Okay, cool. Can you tell me a little bit more about EatingIthaca.com?
Well, it started really as a personal quest to eat at every single restaurant in Ithaca. We have a statistic that floats around that there's more restaurants here per capita than there are in Manhattan. And I thought that was kind of crazy, and what would it be like to say that you've eaten at every single one of those? So I set myself a personal goal of doing that. And then in thinking about how to share that information, I said, well, okay, if I'm going to eat at every restaurant, I have to know what they are. So I found out a list. I had to build my own list of those restaurants. I decided I'll do that. I'll go through them in alphabetical order because it's inherently random that way, and it makes it more interesting. It doesn't, it makes me go someplace I haven't been before. And once I had a microphone, I realized I could be recording other things than just me talking about restaurants. So I wanted to meet the people locally who are involved in bringing me the food at all these restaurants, who are the chefs, who are the growers. And just out of naivete, I guess, I discovered that there's this rich community here of people who not only are involved in creating great food, growing great food, but also innovating in education, in research with Cornell University right here. There's a lot of just great stories that people have, and I'm always someone who, I just love people's personal stories. And by recording something rather than just blogging about it, letting people tell their stories in their own voice and sharing that, I think is so much more intimate and interesting than just interviewing somebody and writing about it. Honestly, I think it's okay to not know where your food's coming from specifically. If you at least have an interest in learning more, I think that's part of what intrigues me about going through and eating at every restaurant in town. Has taught me that we don't just eat at the restaurants where people are cooking local food. We're eating at all the franchise restaurants too. We have more than one McDonald's here. We're going to eat at every single one of those McDonald's. We've eaten at different Burger Kings, different of these national chains that I think are still, people who are into sustainable local foods might not eat at those places. But that to me doesn't make them any less valid as choices, because the people who live in this community do eat there. So I think that it's important for people to know that they have a choice, but it's not good to just blankly disregard a franchise or national chain simply because they're a national chain and they're obviously using beef that's been coming from a massive beef herd in the Midwest or something. I think that's part of the challenge that I see with this project, is trying to find the balance and share the stories from both sides.
Are you worried in any way about environmental or climate change?
I'm definitely worried about the future of the human civilization. I wish that there was more certain information about a timeline for how things are going to happen, which is obviously, it's too hard to tell. But I think in the meantime, we just have to be prepared to make changes now and do what we can, because we don't know how long things are going to take. So I think, the more that we can do to reduce our carbon footprint, like you, I try to bike to work as much as I can. I think recycling, composting. At home, we have taken much more interest in trying to make the most of what we have, fixing things rather than buying replacements, little things like that. Now, can I point to that making a specific change environmentally? No, but it feels good,
Yeah, I would agree. One of the things actually that I struggle with is when you're talking to people about climate change, I have a hard time getting people to quote unquote jump on board if there's no immediate reward or impact that they can see, something tangible. So I think a lot of times it's difficult for people to really want to be proactive, because there is no immediate gratification of, say, reducing or reusing or composting or recycling or things of that nature. So it can be difficult, but I think it's important for us all to think about where we're headed and slow things down a bit, is the way I'd like to say.
And I think there's a lot more interest in our area in wind power and solar power. both for personal use and commercial. Here in Ithaca, there's been a great movement for a lot of the restaurants and people who serve food switching to all compostable serviceware instead of the plastic takeout ware. A lot of places, a lot of businesses are moving to wind or solar power. And finally, New York State is starting to get on board and making more tax incentives for people to upgrade to solar or wind power at home. And even some of our energy suppliers are making it easier to choose wind or hydropower over the traditional coal-fired plants.